Beneath the Spanish skies of the mid-1930s, a dark storm was brewing, one that would soon engulf the nation in a fierce civil war. A group of rebel generals led by Francisco Franco ignited a bloody and brutal conflict. Their core goal was to overthrow the democratically elected government of the Second Spanish Republic. The war, lasting 3 years, divided the country into two opposing factions: the nationalists, who supported Franco and his fascist allies, and the Republicans, who defended the Republic and its progressive reforms. Much like the battlefields of Ukraine today against dictator Vladimir Putin, this conflict drew in many foreign volunteers, including a young English writer and journalist named Blair. His experiences in Spain would profoundly impact his life and work, fueling his transformation to George Orwell, the renowned author of Animal Farm and 1984. Born on June 25, 1903, in Motihari, India, where his father worked as a civil servant in the British Raj. Eric belonged to the upper middle class of British society and received a prestigious education at Wellington College in Eton. However, Blair never felt comfortable in his privileged background and sought adventure and purpose beyond the confines of the British aristocracy. After graduating from Eton, Blair joined the Indian Imperial Police in Burma, where he served for 5 years. He soon became disillusioned with the colonial system and the oppression of the native people. He resigned from his post in 1927 and returned to England, where he decided to pursue a career as a writer. Blair traveled extensively across Europe, working as a dishwasher, teacher, and journalist. He lived among the poor and the oppressed, and witnessed the social and economic hardships of the Great Depression. He also became interested in socialist politics and joined various leftist organizations and movements. He wrote about his experiences in his first published works called Down and Out in Paris and London, as well as The Road to Wigan Pier. Blair's political consciousness and commitment to social justice were put to the test when he learned of the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War. Eric felt a strong sympathy for the Spanish people, who were fighting against the fascist forces of Franco, and so he decided to go to Spain to join the struggle for democracy and freedom. He left England in the autumn of 1936 with a sense of excitement and purpose. By this time, he had already adopted the pen name George Orwell, under which he would become one of the most influential writers of the 20th century. Now, pulling back for a minute to explore the Spanish Civil War, as it was a complex and multifaceted conflict that had its roots in the social, economic, and political tensions that had been building up in Spain for decades. The war was ignited on July 17, 1936, by those opposed to the left-leaning Popular Front government that had been elected in February of that year. The coup failed to take control of the entire country and quickly devolved into armed conflict in the streets that divided the country into two opposing sides, the nationalists and the Republicans. The nationalists were supported by conservative elements within the country, such as the Catholic Church, the landowners, the monarchists, and the right-wing parties. They also received aid from fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, who saw the war as an opportunity to expand their influence and test their military capabilities. As highlighted previously, the nationalists were led by General Francisco Franco, who became the dictator of Spain after the war. The Republicans were loyal to the Popular Front, which was composed of various socialist, communist, anarchist, and Republican parties. The party also received aid from the Soviet Union, which saw the war as a chance to spread the communist revolution and counter the growing fascist threat in Europe. The Republicans attracted the support of many other foreign volunteers who came to Spain to join the international brigades, motivated by their anti-fascist ideals and their solidarity with the Spanish people. They were led by a series of prime ministers, such as Francisco Caballero and Juan Negrin, who faced many challenges and divisions on their side. These challenges were key to Franco's victory in the war. Eric arrived in Spain on October 28th with a burning desire to make a difference in the fight for freedom. He had been following the news of the Spanish Civil War with great interest and sympathy. Little did he know, however, that this event would change his life forever. Not alone in this decision, as thousands of other like-minded volunteers had also come to Spain to support the Republican cause while joining the POUM, also known as the Workers' Party of Marxist Unification, a revolutionary socialist party that opposed both the fascists and the communists. The party was part of a broader movement of anti-Stalinist and anti-fascist leftists, who advocated for a radical social transformation and a workers' democracy. The group also had close ties with the anarchists, who controlled large areas of Catalonia and Aragon. They had implemented a system of self-management and collectivization. Orwell became a volunteer militiaman fighting on the front lines of the war. He was assigned to the Aragon front, where he faced the enemy in the trenches and the hills. He saw the horrors and hardships of war firsthand, from the brutal executions of prisoners to the constant bombardments of towns and villages. He also saw the courage and solidarity of the people, who resisted the fascist onslaught with determination and dignity. Writing about his experiences in his articles and letters, allowing him to provide vivid and honest accounts of life in wartime Spain. These writings would later form the basis of his memoir, Homage to Catalonia. Naturally, Orwell's time with the party shaped his political and general worldview. This resulted in him becoming critical of the Soviet influence and the communist repression of the other leftist factions. He witnessed the betrayal and the violence that resulted from the ideological conflicts within the Republican side, culminating in the infamous May Days of 1937, when the party was suppressed and attacked by the previously friendly communists and the government forces. Orwell was forced to flee from Spain after being hunted down by the secret police. Making it out to France, alive, but deeply scarred. Eric had been shot in the throat and had lost many of his comrades and friends. This resulted in a loss of his faith in the possibility of a socialist revolution and a disillusionment with the realities of global political power. These experiences with totalitarianism would later inform his novels he would become famous for, Animal Farm in 1984. Returning to England in 1937, emerging a transformed figure. Having endured the Spanish Civil War, he not only survived, but also bore witness to its horrors and tragedies. The best and worst of humanity were laid bare before him, imparting crucial lessons about power, totalitarianism, and individual liberty. This pivotal experience led to a commitment to writing, aiming to unveil the perils and falsehoods of political systems that endangered these ideals. His prolific writing on political and social issues drew from his time in Spain, serving as wellsprings of inspiration and critique. Through novels, essays, and articles, he articulated his perspectives with both clarity and bravery. The journey from Eric Blair to George Orwell was fraught with challenges, though. Financial struggles were a constant, unwavering companion, alongside battles with censorship and health issues that plagued him, culminating in a tuberculosis diagnosis that would ultimately take his life. Passing away on January 21, 1950, at just 46. His legacy of literary and political brilliance endures, cementing his status as a seminal 20th century writer, shaping the thoughts of countless readers and intellectuals. These novels introduce concepts like Big Brother, doublethink, and newspeak into everyday language and political dialogue. Beyond literature, his philosophies have influenced political discourse, social movements, and cultural expressions. Adaptations of his work span films, plays, and music, with references and citations by diverse creators and advocates. Educational and enlightening, his contributions serve as beacons of guidance and motivation. Celebrated through entities like the Orwell Prize, this annual journalism accolade honors political writing and reportage, embodying Orwell's principles of truth, integrity, and valor, inspiring writers and journalists to emulate his path. A path vividly showcased in this video right over here.